community ads. Nakama Church of Christ 60th Anniversary Celebration Souvenir Books. Please secure your ad. A full page is $50, half page $25, 1/4 of a page is $12.50. All ads must be in by May 31st, 2019. And you can see on the bulletin who to email for that. That's all my announcements this morning.
I'd like to say good morning. How's everyone doing this morning? Trying to get a little bit lifted this morning. Sometimes the spirit be down a little bit. You got to continue to move because of our God, He is alive.
Yes, sir.
Our first selection. It's one of my favorites. There is beyond the answer blue, a God concealed from Him inside, meeting His stars with heavenly hue, and frame the world with His great might. There is a God, He is alive, and in Him we live and we survive. From the start God created man, He is our God, the great I am. There was a long, long time ago, His heard, needs the God that we should know, who speaks from His inspired word. There is a God, He is alive, and in we live and we survive. From the start, God created man. He is our God, the great I am. So cure is life from mortal mind. God holds the germ within His hand. Though men may search, they cannot find, for God alone does understand. There is a God, He is alive, and then we live and we survive. From the start, God created man. He is our God, the great I am. Our God, who sung upon a tree, a life was willing there to give, that He from sin might set men free, and evermore with Him live. There is a God, He is alive, and then we live and we survive. From the start, God in man, He is our God, the great I am. There is a God, He is alive, and in we live and we survive. From the start, God created man. He is our God, the great I am. There is a God, He is alive, and in we live and we survive. From the start, God created man. He is alive, and in we live and we survive. From the start, God created man. He is our God, the great I am. There is a God. and we survive from the start of created man. It's our God, the great I am. Let the Spirit of the Lord rise. Let it rise. Try this one. If not, I got these Bryce to help me out. I'm sure y'all can help me out, right? Still trying. Let the Spirit of the Lord, let it rise, rise among us. Let the Spirit of the Lord, let it rise, rise among us. Let the praises of the King rise among us. Let it rise. Oh, 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 let it rise. Let the glory of the Lord, let it rise, rise among us. Let the glory of the Lord, let it rise, rise among us. Let the praises of the King rise among us. Let it rise. Oh, 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 let it rise. Let the songs of the Lord, let it rise, rise among us. Let the songs of the Lord, let it rise among us. Let the praises of the, let it rise, rise among us. Let it rise. Oh, 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 let it rise. Let the praises of the Lord, let it rise, rise among us. Let the praises of the Lord, let it rise, rise among us. Let the praises of the King rise among us. Let it rise. Oh, 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 let it rise. Let the power of the Lord, let it rise, rise among us. Let the power of the Lord, let it rise, rise. Let the praises of thy King rise among us. Let it rise. Oh, 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 let it rise. And let the joy of the Lord, let it rise, rise among us. Let the joy of the Lord, let it rise, rise among us. Let the praises of thy King, let it rise among us. Let it rise. Oh, oh, let it rise. Let the Spirit of the Lord, let it rise, rise among us. Let the Spirit of the Lord, let it rise, rise among us. Let the praises of the King rise among us. Let it rise. Oh, 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 let it rise. Thank y'all so much. Before we have prayers, we're going to have a little talk with Jesus. I think that's a good song.
Amen.
Before we get into prayer this morning, just a little talk with Jesus. One of the old time hymns. I don't think you'll never get rid of this song.
Amen.
No way. I once was lost in sin, but Jesus took me in, and in little life from there filled my soul. You know it paid my heart in love and wrote my name above. Now just a little talk with Jesus makes me whole. Now let us have a little talk with Jesus. Let us tell him all about our holy we're our faith, and he will answer mine. Now when you feel a prayer for yearning, as your heart to heaven is turning, you will talk with Jesus, makes it right. Sometimes my back seems rich and dreary without a ring and chill, and then a cloud may hide the light of day. You know the mist of sin make my and the starry sky, but just a little talk with Jesus clears the way. Now let us and let us oh, ye we're our fainting. Church, you sound good out there. Answer mine. Now when you feel a little prayer for yearning, as your heart to heaven is turning, you will find a little talk with Jesus makes it right. I may have doubts and fear, my eyes be filled with tears, but Jesus is a friend who watches day and night. You know I go to him in prayer, he knows my every care, but just a little talk with Jesus makes it right. Now let us have a little talk with Jesus, and let us tell him all about it. Oh, he will hear our faintest cry, and he will answer by it. By now when you feel a little prayer for yearning, as your heart to heaven is turning, you will talk with Jesus, makes it right. Now let us have a little talk. Oh, y'all stand up for this one. Let us tell him all about it. Oh, he will hear our faintest cry, and he will answer by and by. Now when you feel a prayer for yearning, as your heart to heaven is turning, you will find a little talk with Jesus makes it right. You know it's alright, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright. I said just a little talk with Jesus makes it right. You know it's alright, it's alright, it's alright, it's alright. I said just a little talk with Jesus makes it right. To the reading of the scripture in prayer.
Good morning, church. Good morning. Our lesson scripture this morning will be coming from the book of Proverbs, chapter 18, verses 16 through 24. And I'll be reading from the King James Version. Verse 16 states, a man's gift maketh room for him, and bringeth him before great men.
Amen.
He that is first in his own cause seemeth just, but his neighbor cometh and searcheth him. The lot causes contentions to increase, and perish between the mighty. and parted between mighty. A brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle. A man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth, and with the increase of his lips shall he be filled. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Whoso findeth a wife findeth a good thing, and obtaineth favor of the Lord. The poor useth entreaties, but the rich answereth roughly. A man that has friends must show himself friendly, and there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. Let's now be led in prayer by Brother Count.
Your body is on order prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for everything that you have done for us. We thank you for waking us up this morning. It's a great blessing to us. And we pray for the ones that's on their way here, that they make it here safely. We pray for the ones that's sick in bed in the hospitals, that wanted to be here, that they be with us next time. And we just pray for everyone that you have blessed. And we just pray for Brother Harris, that he remember everything that he has studied, that he preaches to his fullest potential. And everyone learns something out of it today in everyday life.
Yes.
And we just thank you for everything. In Jesus' name, amen.
So thank you. I am a fighting soldier, and I'm on the battlefield, and I am a fighting soldier on this old battlefield, and I am a fighting soldier, and I'm on the battlefield. Keep on bringing souls to Jesus by the servants that I give, and I'm a hard-fighting soldier, and I'm on the battlefield. I am a hard-fighting soldier, and I'm on this old battlefield, and I am a hard-fighting soldier on the battlefield. Keep on bringing souls to Jesus by the servants that I give. And I got my helmet on my head, and in my hand, and I got my helmet on my head, and in my hand a sword and shield, and I got my helmet on my head, and in my hand a sword and shield. Keep on bringing souls to Jesus by the servants that Lord, I'm a hard-fighting soldier, and I'm on the battlefield, and I am a hard-fighting soldier on this old battlefield, and I am a hard-fighting soldier, and I'm on the battlefield. Keep on bringing souls to Jesus by the servants that I give, and I got to walk and talk and sing the battlefield, and I got to walk and talk and sing and pray on this old battlefield, and I got to walk, talk, and sing and pray while on this old battlefield. Keep on now bringing souls to Jesus by the servants that I give. And I got to walk and talk and sing and pray while I'm on this old battlefield. And I got to walk and talk and sing and pray while I'm on this old battlefield. And I got to walk and talk and sing and pray while I'm on this old battlefield. Keep on now bringing souls to Jesus by the servants that I give.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen. We are on the battlefield.
Yes.
And we are soldiers of the cross.
Amen.
We have been given a charge and a challenge.
Amen.
That we must face the opposition with courage and with commitment and dedication.
Yes.
We must remember the perimeters of our charge and hold faithful until we achieve our mission. As Christians, we have been commissioned by God to bring a message to the world and set an example before them and to make full proof of our ministry. Glad to be able to worship the King of Kings and Lord of Lords and to magnify His holy and divine name.
Yes.
If you're visiting with us today, we're honored to have you grace our audience with your presence. Our prayer is that your being with us will be as encouraging and as inspiring for you as having you is for us. It's truly our joy to have you. If you're looking for a church home, your search is over.
Yes.
The family of God here is ready to receive you. Together we can accomplish God's purpose in our lives as we march down the King's Highway, carrying the bloodstained banner of Jesus Christ until we're called from labor to reward.
Yes.
If there's anything we can do to assist you in that journey,
Amen.
please make it known, and we'll be glad to take the time to talk with you. We don't try to hold the services all day, but it's not because we're in a hurry, but it's because we respect the time that you give and the things that you have to do.
All right.
We have the time
Yes, sir.
if you need to talk with us about any matter. Today marks the conclusion of the series on dating and courtship. May is our dating and courtship month. And we have been dealing with this concept from the beginning of the month as we celebrate the journey to love.
All right.
Chosen that title because love is a journey.
Yes, sir.
Actually, getting in love is a journey.
Yes, sir.
Choosing who to love is a journey. And then following through
Yes, sir.
in love is a journey.
Yes.
We're on a journey.
Yes.
And we want to make this journey a successful journey and end up in our designated place. But on this journey, we must understand that like every discipline there is,
That's right.
any discipline, pick it. It can be a career track. It can be people in recreational services, but there are always standards that are associated with the choice. And the standards govern and direct the outcome as we move forward. Courting and dating also have standards. And we want to deal with the standards of conduct for dating. Standards of conduct for dating is the basis of making the good choices See, there are plenty of people in the world, but not all of them for you.
That's right. Yes, sir.
See, you're not for all of them.
That's right.
So we have to make choices. We have to make good choices. Everything with britches is not the man for you.
That's right.
And every skirt is not the girl for you.
That's right.
And so you have to make some choices. But you have to be able to discern between the choices that must be made. That's why in Proverbs 18, I choose that text to launch from. Solomon talks about he that findeth a wife, findeth a good thing.
Good thing.
The concept here parallels the idea of those who are looking for treasures.
That's right.
They must have some idea of the treasure that they seek and what's important for them so that they can know. Jesus tells the parable of the pearl of great price. The man who finds that pearl has to recognize the value of it. So much so that he sells everything else that he might purchase that pearl. And when he goes away with that pearl, he knows that he has a treasure. And when you find that person in your life, you got to know that you found a treasure. That you found someone that not only is going to be a blessing to you, but that you're going to be a blessing to.
All right.
Now, I'm talking to a mixed crowd today. I'm talking to some people who are on the verge of courting. I'm talking to some people who are deep into courting. I'm talking to some people who are still just thinking about it. And I'm probably talking to some people who ought not to be courting.
Come on, Doc. Come on, Doc.
This is serious business.
Yes, sir.
And it's not for just everybody.
That's right.
We have to know whether we fit the profile or not. There's a search in process. There is a looking that's taking place. There's consideration that's involved in finding that mate. And that means that you have to look in the right places to find the good thing. Notice that he didn't say every wife is a good thing.
Come on, Doc.
Right.
But he that findeth the woman has found a good thing. If you don't look properly, you don't look well, and you don't use the proper procedures in looking, you can come up with something that won't turn out to be a good thing.
Come on, Doc.
We can say today that many times we're talking to young people, but I'm talking to all people today.
Come on, Doc.
I'm talking to those who ought to be out of the business. You know, to stay out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to those who ought to be courting to know which direction to go. So in establishing these standards, Paul tells the Corinthians, 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 18 through 20, flee fornication.
Yes, sir.
Every sin that a man committed is without the body.
Yes, sir.
But he that committeth fornication sins against his own body.
Yeah.
Mercy.
I just want to raise up the red flag and alert today that even in the courting process, you can do danger to you, to yourself, to your own body, to your own future, to your own life. That's why the encouragement, flee fornication. Notice, the thing to flee is fornication.
Yes, sir.
But what is fornication? Fornication is cohabitation without proper identification,
Come on, Doc.
without proper certification,
Yes, sir.
without due process.
Yes, sir.
A due process is when you go down before some administrator, minister, some judge, and you say the magic words, I do.
That's right.
You know, I take you to be my lawful and wedded wife, to have and to hold, in sickness as in health, and poverty as in wealth, so long as we both shall live until death shall part us. Those are the magic words. And until you go through that, somebody says, well, I don't believe in them words anymore. Well, stay out of the business.
Come on, Doc.
Because it's not for folk that don't believe in it. Folk that don't believe in marriage shouldn't be together.
Come on.
No, I said it. I'll say it again before I take it back.
Come on, preacher.
It's for people that are willing to abide by a set of standards that God has already established. And this flea in fornication was so important that the same apostle repeated the same thing in another venue.
Yes, sir.
When he's talking to the young son Timothy, he says, flee fornication. Flee youthful lust.
Yes, sir.
What he is telling him, and Timothy is a preacher.
Oh, yeah, bro.
He's a preacher. And so if there are any preachers in the audience, this applies to you.
Come on, Doc.
That's right,
It
preacher.
applies to all of us.
Yes, sir.
In fact, we are first on line.
Yes, sir.
We are the head of the line. It applies to those who are God's servants to set the standard for the kind of conduct that ought to be carried on by the people of God. And sometimes you have to run. I said sometimes you have to run. See, some people will grab a hold and won't turn loose. And you have to run.
Yeah.
You have to know when to run. When the singer singing, know when to fold and when to hold.
Know when to run.
You got to know when to run.
Yes, right.
You got to know when this ain't the place for you, when this is not the room for you, when this is not the setting for you to be in.
That's right.
When this don't look right, it looks strange in here. You know, it's too much going on. And so I need to get out of here.
That's right.
Somebody said, well, man, you know, you chicken, yes?
That's right.
But you have to know when to be a chicken. You heard me right? See, you know what frightens me? What frightens me is the thought that I'll be so bold and think that I'm so strong
Yes, sir.
that I don't have to take care and protect the integrity of my life.
Come on, Doc.
That I don't have to say, stay away, you don't belong in this place. Sometimes you have to know direction to go and who to go with. And if that were not enough, he comes back in chapter 15 of 1 Corinthians and says, evil communication corrupts good manners or good morals.
That's right.
In other words, if you hang with the wrong people and get involved in the wrong things and stay there too long, you become more like them than they like you.
That's right.
The goal of the Christian is to transform the world for the Lord.
Come on, Doc.
We're to change people for the kingdom of God. But the power of change is in the Word of God, coupled by the example
Yes, sir.
of following the Word of God.
Yes, sir.
Paul tells Timothy, 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12 to 16, let no man despise thy youth, but be thine example of believers. And then he said, take heed to yourself, and to the doctrine continue in them, for in doing such you shall save yourself and them that hear thee.
That's right.
Notice he said, what are you going to save yourself and those that hear thee?
Uh-huh.
First of all, when you become the example, and secondly, when you take heed to yourself and take heed to the doctrine and stay in the doctrine.
That's plain, Doc.
And so the standard conduct for dating is established in the biblical text. So the question becomes, how do daters, singles, youth, and saints flee fornication? How do you flee fornication? How do you avoid it? How do you bypass it? Well, I need to expose you to some problems of going steady.
All right.
You know, people say, well, we're going steady. You're 15 years old, talking about going steady.
Come on, help us, Doc.
See, people going steady are in stage 2 of the marriage stage. Stage 1 is seeing somebody and dating. It's called casual dating because it doesn't get involved in anything real intense. It's getting to know somebody, seeing if they're somebody likable, if somebody you would like to know better. And then in the next stage, you pick that person out and say, I think I'll consider that person as a possible mate. Now I have to find out if they will make a good mate. That's the courting stage. That's when you spend the time and get to know on a higher level, not a lower level, but on a higher level,
Yes, sir.
that individual. See, the higher level is you're learning them from the neck up. You're seeing what's in their head.
Yes, sir.
And seeing how it matches your head.
Uh-huh.
And dating is on a high level. Courting is on a high level. And marriage is on all levels.
That's right.
And so until you get to the marriage stage, the courting has to be on a high level. But the problem with going steady is you can let emotions run out of control. See, let me share this with you. You need enough maturity to know what you're dealing with, and need enough maturity to have the intestinal fortitude to say, it's time to go home.
That's right.
Every young man and young woman, when they go out on a date, should carry, it used to be $1 in your pocket, because you could get a taxi for $1. But now you probably need $20 at the least.
That's right.
In your pocket.
Uh-huh.
In case you have to say, this ain't for me. You can take your cell phone and call a taxi and say, I want to go.
Uh-huh.
Because if a person is putting pressure on you, they're not trying to let you go.
That's right.
They're trying to hold you up. And so don't let your emotions run out of control. It's not a question of whether to go all the way on the first date. You are required not to go all the way on the first date or any date. Clarification. Not on the first date, not on the second date,
Come on, Doc.
not on the 225th date,
Come on, Doc.
not on any date.
All right.
Is courting to go all the way. Well, Brother Harris, that's old folk. See, people don't live like that anymore. That's why we're ungodly.
That's right.
That's why our lives are messed up.
Yes, sir.
That's why our families are messed up.
Yes, sir.
That's why we messed up.
That's true.
It's because we're abandoning the things that make quality people out of us.
That's right.
And build strong families and strong homes and give us futures that we can be proud of. And we can look back at our lives and thank God that we have lived the life we have lived.
That's right.
But we have to have some old fogey morals and values to live by.
That's right.
Old fogey, what do you mean old fogey? All the way back to Solomon's day,
Yes,
when he
sir.
says, he that findeth the wife, findeth a good thing. All the way back to Paul's day, when Paul says, flee fornication. All the way back to Peter's day, when he says, be ye holy, for I am holy, says the Lord.
Yes,
Go
sir.
back to the old fogey stuff. It's still in the Bible,
Yes,
and the
sir.
Bible, by the way, is an old fogey book.
Yes, sir.
It didn't just get wrote. Well, I know, but it didn't just get wrote.
That's right. Yes, sir.
It's been there for a while.
Yeah.
That's right, preacher.
See, what's needed today is what I call the Joseph principle
Yes, sir.
in relationship. See, we have to ask yourself and your date the right question. The right question is not, what's the temperature of the water today? The right question is, how can I do this and sin against my God?
Come on, Doc.
Because God is watching.
Yes, sir.
When pressure is put on, we have to be able to say, I can't do that. I won't do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sin against God. Now, young men, if they put pressure, they lie to say, well, if you love me, you will.
Come on, Doc.
But you come back and say, I love you too much to do it.
All right.
Because I know if I do it, I'm going to ruin you, and I'm going to ruin me, and we won't be any good for each other.
Right.
I want a man that can wait on me.
All right.
Young ladies, practice saying that. You don't have to say it out loud. People might hear you. But you need to practice saying that I want a man that can wait on me. A man that'll wait to the right place and the right time and the right set of circumstances. I want a man that if he wants me enough, he'll take me to the altar, put a ring on my finger, and say I do in front of a judge or a priest or somebody and get this thing right. I want a man that'll invest in me and put a down payment on a house or a down payment on the utilities, who will start the first month's rent and have a job to pay rent number 2.
That's right.
Come on now, preacher.
Part of the problem of going steady is it's too soon. It's too soon when you're not old enough to go steady. And I realize that young people are sometimes seduced into dating. All the pressure's put on them. You're 10 years old, people trying to hook you up with a date.
Mercy.
12 years old, people trying to hook you up with a date. I was a 10-year-old young man preaching, being exposed to people across the land, preaching here and there, and crowds of people coming to hear a young man preach. And in those crowds of people were young ladies and their mamas and grandmamas who had future, intents that daughter would hook up with a preacher. And so one day I'm sitting at home, and I did my memory work in the evening. And I'm sitting at home, and a car drives up, way out in the country where we live. And a young lady got out of the car with the folk who brought her. And I got a message from my mama that to come into the living room, somebody wanted to see me. So I go to the living room, and there's this young lady sitting there. And she's sitting on the couch, and I'm sitting on the couch, and I don't know what I'm there for. They call me, I'm waiting for somebody to tell me what I'm in there for. I didn't know they were trying to hook up 2 young people to date at 10 years old.
Mercy. Mercy.
I'm trying to know the Bible.
Right.
I'm trying to memorize my scripture. And if I get my head messed up, I won't be any good in what I'm trying to do. And so I went through that ordeal until the end of the day. And I never took the phone number, never called. I didn't have sense enough to call. I was just a kid.
That's right. That's right.
But you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
You put in the minds of children that they ought to be dating. Now, once you put that in their mind, then they find out what people do on dates. I'm talking about people,
That's right.
the grown folk. The single and satisfied folk. What they do on dating. And that's their perspective of dating. That's who pushed them into it. And that's whose example they have. And so they start out with the idea that dating means you belong to each other. But that's not what it means. You're just trying to discover who might be somebody you're interested in. And immaturity will lead to bad choices and unforeseen consequences that you will have to be responsible for. If you're dating because you don't want to be the only one not dating, then you become a target for abuse. Because you think you got to take stuff to keep dating.
That's the truth, Doc.
And you get into stuff that you didn't know you were going to get into. And by the time you realize that you're so deep in, you're too ashamed to get out of it.
That's right.
And so you end up in a miserable situation. And your future is already clouding down on you.
Mercy.
Then, people have the thing of saying, he's like a brother, she's like my sister. Well, if he's like a brother, she's like your sister. And then you all can get a little bit further apart when you sit down.
That's right.
I don't know if many of you saw, I know the Bill Cosby show when his daughter was dating this young guy, and he brought him into the kitchen, took a big butcher knife, put it on the table, took an apple and set it right on the table, took another apple and put it in his hand and said, now, I want to know how were you dating? He put the apple beside the other apple And then he put the apple on top of the other apple with the butcher knife in his hand. Now, how was his date? Right. The young man looked at him and saw what was going on. He took those two apples and moved them way apart from each other.
Yes, sir.
If it's like your sister or your brother,
yes, sir.
Then you can give some space. You can have proper contact, holiness, and privacy in the thing. What do you mean privacy? That means the young man respects the young lady enough not to crowd her out. And people are going to, you know, young ladies, what is beautiful clothes, and you know, they fit a certain way, but the problem is young ladies are clumsy. And sometimes in their clumsiness, they drop their handkerchief and have to pick it up. But see, a respect for young man turns his head. Yeah. Now he's turning his head for two reasons. Number one, he doesn't want to create for himself what he can't control. And number two, he wants to be seen as a gentleman and not as a thug. And so he turns his head. He gives her that moment of privacy because it was an unexpected move on her part. But notice, it may become, when you're dating, and dating goes on and on and on. And you know, young people might start dating at age 12 and dating at age 15, the same person, age 18, the same person. And by the time they get 28, they're still dating. Mercy. So one problem with dating is when dating becomes social security. That guarantees that you have a date when you want it. No intentions, no plans. But I want somebody that if I call her up and say, we're going out tonight, she's going to say, yes, I'll be ready. Doesn't have to make any plans because, you know, I got Social Security. She and I are going steady. He and I is going steady. And therefore, I don't have to win them over or convince them, let's do this or let's do that. I got Social Security because we are locked together and we ain't going to never marry. We're just going to enjoy each other without ever being married. And so I've got a security and we're going to be together. As a result, you have increased intimacy that exposes you to temptations and transgressions of the very standards that you are duty bound to live by as a child of God. And out of that comes the temptation to start playing house. You know what playing house is? See, back when I was a kid, playing house was when all the children got together. One was the cook, one was this and one was that. And they played these little games. The cook was over there, the man was over there, somebody else was over here. But they never got up on each other. They just played house. But daters play house differently. They move in together. Come on, Doc. They share house apartments and rental properties together. They put both of their names on the utilities together. And they get charge cards together. And they just live together like they've been married for 30 years. And never said I do to each other. And they spend their whole life, they raise whole families together without ever having the benefit of a marriage and a real true scripture relationship. And so the playing house puts them in a situation where they are missing out on a real godly home because what they are doing, they are setting a pattern for the children they're bringing up. And this is how you live. This is what living together, this is real dating, this is courting. This is what it looks like. And that picture is reproduced all over the land. It's smeared all over television and everywhere you turn, all on Facebook. You see people that you know ain't married and never been married. And they are a couple and they showing pictures of them in ways that nobody ought to ever see.
Right.
Because they're going steady. When do you stop going steady and go ahead and get married?
All right.
Age is creeping up on us, and we'll soon be gone. And we will not achieve our mission. We need to be old enough and mature enough to handle a real courting situation. That means mom and dad need to get in on the business of preparing their children for courting and dating. Help them to take it slow. Help them to set boundaries. Parents need to set boundaries. We need to know what's going on in our house.
That's right.
I don't advise parents to leave their children at home by themselves with people that call themselves dating, going across the city, across town, stay gone for hours, and say, I got a good daughter, I got a good son. Let me tell you something.
Come on, Doc.
Don't care how good their heart is.
Yeah.
When they discover the mystery that you discovered when they came into this world, they will cease to be what you thought they were going to be. They have to have some guidance and some guidelines in order to develop the right kind of relationship. The parental role is to prepare the children for the discovery process and help them to have the kind of barriers and guidelines that they need, that they can make proper selections, that they can establish and uphold the values, and that they can set future goals that will show that they are about something and not going to violate the values that will make them who they hope to be in the future. Emotions run out of control. Joseph is back on the page again. How can I do this? Get in the car. Stay too long. Stay with friends that have no values. And parents even let their children go off on weekend trips together.
Mercy.
With their boyfriend and girlfriend.
Mercy.
And you think that you're doing something nice as a parent. There needs to be a proper view of sex. For instance, Adam and Eve were naked, but they were married. Nudity between husband and wife is one thing.
That's right.
Between people who call themselves dating is unpermissible. Sex was God's idea, and sex is not sinful.
That's right.
But premarital sex
Come on, Doc.
and extramarital sex is a violation of God's law. It's a sin in the eyes of God. And Paul tells the Corinthians, 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 9 through verse number 12, verse 15 through 20, he tells them that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. And then he calls upon them to remember that ye are not your own.
That's right.
Ye are bought with a price. Therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which belongs to the Lord.
Yes, sir.
He said, you belong to God.
That's right.
You are God's child. God created you. God brought you into this world. And God gave you your handsome look. God gave you your beautiful physique. God gave that to you.
Yeah.
But he gave it to you to honor and to respect him in the process.
Yes, sir.
He wants you to be attracted to the opposite sex. But he wants you to choose the opposite sex that you're going to be involved with. And he wants you to choose the circumstances in which you're involved with them. You can't be everything to everybody.
That's right.
Yes, we have to recognize that our view of sex cannot be different from God's plan for sex.
That's right.
The propagation of the species is one of the purposes for sex. But having children is for husbands and wives, not for baby's daddy and baby's mama. It is for husbands and wives. In fact, When God told Adam and Eve, he said, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth. He's talking to two people that he has already brought together.
That's right.
These two people have been created by God for this purpose. They are now under God's control and direction. In chapter 1 of Genesis, he shows the original creation of the world and the creation of man, and the fact that he created man and woman, male and female, created he them, and then commanded them to be fruitful and multiply. In chapter 2, he shows how the woman was created, and how that she came out of man, and how that she was the result of man giving of himself unto her. So God was the creator, with the purpose of the woman being the helpmeet for the man, that they together might build a family and a future together. Marriage is building a future.
Yes, sir.
But the future is not just for husband and wife. The future is for the family. Everybody finds something valuable in that future. Sex is to promote love between the husband and the wife, not between friends and dates.
Come on, Doc.
See, God doesn't want us to prove our love to somebody we're not married to by going all the way. God wants us to prove our love to somebody we're not married to by holding up the standards.
Yeah. I
love you too much to let you do this to me and do it to yourself.
That's right.
Well, that's crazy. Is it? Well, let me put it the other way. Let me show you something.
All right.
Let's say I love you so much, you can do anything you want to me and treat me any kind of way you want to.
That ain't gonna work. Yeah.
Is that the way it ought to be?
Come on, Doc.
Anytime you want me, just take me. Any way you don't want to treat me, just treat me. See, the problem is the wrong view creates the wrong outcome.
Yes, sir.
And too many young ladies are victims of the guy they've been dating. And they got so deep into the dating, they lost their set of values and their self-respect and esteem. And they allowed them to talk to them any kind of way, to treat them any kind of way, to abuse them any kind of way, to embarrass them wherever and whenever they want to. And their sense of importance has been drained of them because the process started and carried out in the wrong way. You are a peach in the top of the tree.
That's right.
Don't get out and crawl with the worms on the ground.
All right.
Be who you are. And let God lift you up and help you to be all that you can be. Sex is designed for marriage because it is not for fornication. And the body is not for fornication. Paul makes this statement in 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse number 1 and 2.
That's right.
He says that fornication, to avoid fornication, that every man have his own wife.
That's right.
And every woman have her own husband.
Yeah.
Now notice, what was a husband? A husband was a person who provided for a family.
Yeah.
In the ancient marriage practices,
Come on, preacher.
when a man saw a woman that he wanted to take as a wife, he would have a meeting with her father. And in that meeting, they would work out the details of the marriage contract. And they would sign that contract. He was committed to the father and to the family, how he was going to treat the daughter, the wife that he was going to take. And then, when the contract was signed, for all intents and purposes, they were married. But they were not coming together. Because now he has to do step 2. He has to go and prove himself as a provider for the family. And so he goes and works, whether it's taking in a crop, finishing a battle that he's fighting, or whatever it is, he works and gathers and gains enough that he can provide for them together. While he's doing that, she is at home with her family. She is retaining her chastity, her virtues, and her holiness, waiting for him, preparing for him, building her hope chest, putting the right things in that hope chest, looking forward to the time that he's going to be ready to come back and get her.
Yeah.
So when they come back together, all things are in place. And he takes her to the place that's designated. She becomes his wife in full, in consummation. The marriage is consummated. The family begins, and soon after that, the first child comes along.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All in the process. The process drives the conduct. But the wrong view of sex can cause you to end up with the wrong person and feel stuck in a marriage, or even worse, a live-in committed relationship and sleeping with your mate while dreaming of somebody else. You make too soon of choices and be too quick to jump in with somebody else. When you realize that's not what you want, you might be too far to get out of it. And the tragedy is spending your life carrying out the duties of a marriage while dreaming about another relationship all the time. I wish I had this. I wish I had done that. I wish I had married so-and-so. He would have made me a better husband. I wish I married so-and-so. She would have been a better wife. And all the time, and at the same time, somewhat fearful that on any given night, while I'm sleeping in my bed, I might start dreaming so deeply that I start talking out in my dream. And they find out what my real problem is. What Solomon says in Proverbs 5 and 18, to rejoice with the wife of your youth.
Yes, sir.
That means, number one, that you needed to be happy when you got it.
Come on, Doc.
And number two, I don't care how long it's been, you still need to be happy with it.
Yes, sir.
Well, perhaps how you going to be happy with somebody you're not happy with? No, you didn't feel it.
Come on.
So you're happy when you got it.
Come on.
You fight mama, daddy, kinfolk, everybody. You break every rule. You refuse to listen to anybody. And you just want to get your wife. Man, only thing gonna make me happy is I gotta get my wife. And then you got her, you're happy with her. And 25 years later, she's the same wife you got. But she don't look the same, you don't eat.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, I'm a living example.
That's right. Come on, Doc.
When you eat so much food,
Come on, Doc.
and gain so much weight,
Yes, sir.
that people want to send you to a gynecologist.
Come on, Doc.
You don't look like you used to look.
That's right. All right. All right.
See, that's the trick. Love and marriage is not about looks.
That's right.
It's about people. It's about people who love each other, who committed to each other, who signed on for the death do you part principle, and who, after years and years have passed, have still committed to that relationship. And see, the thing you have to remember is the way to keep from falling out of love is to keep your eyes on that same person and keep the picture of that first day in your mind.
Yes.
You know, the day you saw her walking, and you said, I gotta have her. Keep that picture in your mind. The day you saw him, and you saw a man, I ain't never seen a man look like that. And keep that picture in your mind. You know what? I have that picture in my mind.
Yeah.
I have the picture of me stopping at the campus of Jarvis Christian College. I had to catch a taxi from the bus station to the campus, which was 15 miles down the road, to get on campus. And instead of him taking me to the boys' dorm to let me off, he just parked in front of the girls' dorm, put me out, and he left. And as I looked up down that sidewalk, coming down that sidewalk, I saw the most beautiful thing that I'd seen. And that's she straight down through there. Man, listen, I got a view in my eye.
Yes, sir.
That I wouldn't let go. Back then, she had that hair, where it turned to the side a little bit. I got that picture
Yes, sir.
in my mind.
We saw it.
Well, why am I keeping that picture in my mind? Because I'm keeping the memory of who I fell in love with, who I chose for my spouse. And the way to keep loving them is never forget that you love them. Never forget what love is like. But Brother Harris, see, bad things happen in marriage.
That's right.
People do things in marriage, and you know, it's hard. Yes, what people do is hard, but you're still married.
That's right.
And so, don't throw the picture away. Keep the picture. You know what Grandma and Grandpa do? That grandchild back when he was a little bitty kid, he's now grown, got grandchildren of his own, and Grandma and Grandpa go back to that the picture album that they kept all these years, open those pages up, look at that little boy in that picture, and they just smile, you know, and they say, he's still my little man. He's still, you know how come? Because they didn't throw the picture away.
That's right.
They kept seeing that little man, how much they loved him. And even though he's grown up and haven't always done what they want him to do, they still look at that picture of that little man they love. And they still love him. Keep the picture. Don't throw it away. Tall tales told by violators make young people get into things they shouldn't be in.
That's true.
Guys who want to make donations to your future and yet brag about their escapades but cry about child support.
That's right.
And responsibility that gets in the way of their freedom. Cry about baby mamas and baby daddies who always threaten to report them or not support them. Cry about losses of opportunities because of premature families to support. Cry about all of these things, but let me tell you something. Don't hate the guy. Don't hate the girl. Don't hate the child. Look in the mirror.
Yes, sir.
And you'll see who the real culprit is. Look in the mirror. Like a man that looketh into a mirror, James said.
Yes, sir.
And beholding the natural face in the mirror, and goeth his way, and forgetteth what manner of man he was. But he that looketh into the perfect law of liberty, and continue therein,
Yes, sir.
he is not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the word. This man shall be blessed in his deed. We need to look in the mirror. Who we see when we look in the mirror. Do we see our hair gray and our body going through changes? Then we know that we've been around a while. But we still must hold the values that made us children of God. Young people courting can be wonderful, but it's not marriage. Marriage calls for a decision, a commitment, and you need to be mature enough to enter into that commitment. Too soon, and you could end up in a bad place in life. And let me tell you something. Don't date too fast and too hard, too soon. Studies have been done about dating. And you know what has been found? That couples that tend to become promiscuous generally spend too much time in the early stages of dating. And they lose their commitment to remain celibate. And the more hours you clock in private moments, the more danger you face. And daters today want everything private.
Yeah.
They want everything private. They want to be in the darkness. They want the light as low as they can get it. They want nobody to be able to see them. But let me tell you something. Sometimes you need people looking at you.
That's right.
Sometimes you need to be in the limelight so that you can realize what the light is casting on. When your mind goes racing and you realize you're in the light, you realize that ain't the thing to do. When you can say that in the light, then you know you don't need to be in the dark.
That's right.
And maybe today, you need an example that you can look to. I got one for you. This example was a man who wanted to marry a lady. He sent messages to her. He courted her, basically from a distance. When he wrote the letters for her to read, he wanted her to be able to know that it came from him and that it would have an impact on her thinking. Finally, one day, he asked for her hand in marriage. But then he explained to her that we'll set the date sometime in the future, because I have some things I have to get done before that day. I just want you to promise me that you'll be waiting for me and you'll be faithful until I get done what I got to do. But I'll tell you in the front, what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare a place for you. And when I get everything ready, I'm coming back for you.
Yes, sir.
To take you home. That courting relationship was orchestrated by the Lord himself.
Yes, sir.
Jesus Christ loved the church, and he gave himself for it.
Yes, sir.
And now he has gone back to prepare a place.
Yes, sir.
While the church is in waiting. And while she's waiting, she's to be pure in preparation for the Lord. And are you today a part of that church? Have you said yes to Jesus? Have you transformed your life so you can be what he's looking for when he comes back? Come to me, he said, all that labor and the heavy labor, and I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me. I'll make you low and hard, and you shall find rest in your souls. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. You come by hearing his word, believe with all of your heart, repent of every sin. Confess before me in Christ as the Son of God. Be buried with him in the water of great baptism for the remission of your sin. Rise from the grave in the preacher. Live a faithful life unto death, after a while and by and by. Go home to live with God in the sin of the bliss. The youngest relatives. When I say yes to Christ right now, while we stand and while we sing, the Savior says, come.
There's not a friend like the Holy Jesus. Singing, Lord, no, not one. Singing, no, not one. And none else could heal all our soul diseases. Singing, no. And no friend